The galaxy watched in shock as humans thrived on planet XK-217, the deadliest hell in the universe, where even Trisolarans and Krell feared to go. Captain James Hawkins's scientific ship broke apart in the corrosive skies as the hull dissolved, raining molten metal onto the rocky acid wastes below. He gritted his teeth and gripped the sparking control panel, determined to not let the alien Galactic Council observers die here, even as the engines died and stabilizers failed. Down, down, down they plummeted towards spires of Razorstone. Hawkins had to land the crippled ship intact. Slamming the throttle, he activated emergency thrusters and braced for impact. The ground rushed up. There was no choice. They would survive this planet. They had to. Humanity's future depended on it. This was their last hope. The impact should have killed us, but as I stumbled out of the smoking wreckage, the only thing hurting was my pride. Chunks of metal lay strewn across the rocky hellscape, hissing as acid rain pelted them, but the bulk of the ship had held together. Most of the crew was in one piece and helping the shell-shocked alien observers out of their harnesses. I looked over our new home. Jagged peaks stabbed at the sky, which churned with toxic clouds. Rivers of churning sludge oozed across the rugged terrain. And yet, something caught my eye, a glint of steel among the crags. I pulled out my binoculars and zoomed in on the anomaly. "I'll be damned," I muttered. There were towers out there. Artificial structures rose from the acid wastes, connected by pipelines and covered walkways. They were decrepit husks, but their skeletal remains were unmistakable. "Someone's been here before," I said to Jana, my second in command. "And recently, too. Look at the lack of corrosion on those towers." Jana frowned. "Perhaps we aren't the first to be marooned here. But Hawkins, we shouldn't concern ourselves with that now. We need to set up shelter and see how many supplies survived the crash." So I nodded. "You're right. But once we have a base camp established, I want to investigate those ruins. If there's a chance of salvaging equipment or even just figuring out how they survived here, we need to know." It took hours of backbreaking labor, but we managed to construct a livable habitat from the ship's remains. We used hull plating for walls and repurposed the life support systems to keep the acidic atmosphere at bay. The alien observers were more of a hindrance than a help, but we couldn't blame them. They never expected to do manual labor on a death world. Once I was confident that the team could hold down the fort, I gathered a scouting party to check out the ruins. Gina, myself, and a few of our most capable scientists set out across the hellish landscape, keeping a wary eye on our Geiger counters. The radiation levels were manageable for now, but we all knew that could change at any moment. As we approached the towers, I noticed signs of recent activity. There were footprints in the ashen soil and discarded ration packs that looked human in origin. My heart raced at the implications. If there were humans here, then perhaps we weren't doomed after all. We entered the nearest structure and found ourselves in a dimly lit corridor. The air was stale but breathable. We made our way deeper into the facility until we came across a large, reinforced door. I reached for the controls, but before I could touch them, the door slid open with a hiss. A group of humans stood on the other side, clad in form-fitting environment suits. They had rifles trained on us, and their postures were tense. I raised my hands slowly, showing that I was unarmed. "We come in peace," I said, hoping that they understood English. "We're from the GCS Hawking. Our ship crashed here." The leader of the group, a grizzled man with a scarred face, lowered his weapon. "You're a long way from home, Captain," he said, his voice rough from disuse. "Welcome to XK-217. I'm Ezra, leader of the colony." I blinked in surprise. "Colony? How long have you been here?" Ezra chuckled darkly. "Longer than I care to remember. Our ancestors were part of a secret military project back on Earth. They were genetically engineered to survive in the harshest conditions imaginable. When the project was shut down, they were abandoned here, left to fend for themselves." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Genetically enhanced soldiers living on a planet that killed everything it touched? It seemed impossible, but the proof was standing right in front of me. "How have you survived here for so long?" I asked. my curiosity getting the better of me. Ezra's expression turned grim. It hasn't been easy. The planet tries to kill us every day, but we've adapted, evolved. We've learned to thrive where nothing else can. I stared at Ezra in disbelief. You can breathe the air here without a suit? He nodded, a hint of pride in his eyes. For a few minutes at a time, yes. Our lungs have evolved to filter out the toxins. It's not pleasant, but it's gotten us out of more than a few scrapes. I shook my head in amazement. And the temperatures, the radiation, how do you deal with those? Ezra led us deeper into the facility, past rooms filled with humming machinery and bustling colonists. Our skin has developed a higher tolerance for radiation, and our bodies can withstand extreme heat and cold. But we also have technology to help us, like temperature-regulating clothing and radiation shields. As we walked, I noticed that the colonists were eyeing us warily. They kept their distance, and some even had their hands on their weapons. I couldn't blame them for being suspicious. We were outsiders, intruding on their home. But Ezra seemed more open-minded. He answered my questions patiently, and even offered to show us around the colony. We've had to be resourceful to survive here, he said. We've scavenged technology from the ruins and adapted it to our needs. We even have a hydroponic farm that provides us with food. I was impressed by their ingenuity. These people had taken a planet that was utterly inhospitable to life and turned it into a home. It was a testament to human resilience and adaptability. As we toured the facility, I started to see potential for collaboration between our groups. The colonists had knowledge and skills that could be invaluable to us, and we had resources and technology that could help them. I broached the subject with Ezra, and he seemed receptive. We've been isolated here for so long, he said. It would be good to have some contact with the outside world again, and if you can help us improve our systems, make life a little easier here, we'd be grateful. I smiled, feeling a sense of hope for the first time since we'd crashed. I think this could be the start of a mutually beneficial partnership. But as we shook hands on it, I caught a glimpse of the alien observers out of the corner of my eye. They were huddled together, whispering furiously and casting suspicious glances at the colonists. I felt a prickle of unease. I knew that the Galactic Council had strict rules about contact with unregistered civilizations, and the colony definitely qualified as that. I excused myself from Ezra and approached the observers. "Is everything all right?" I asked, keeping my voice low. The leader of the group, a spindly creature with multiple eyes, chittered agitatedly. "Captain Hawkins, are you sure it's wise to be associating with these people? They are an unknown quantity. Their very existence here is a violation of Council law." I frowned. "They're human, just like us, and they've survived on this planet for generations. Surely that counts for something." The observer's eyes narrowed. "Their survival is not the issue. It's the potential threat they pose to the galactic community. If they have indeed adapted to this environment, what's to stop them from spreading beyond this world? They could become a menace, a plague upon the galaxy." I bristled at the implication. "They're not a plague, they're people, and they deserve our help, not our fear and suspicion." But even as I said it, I could tell that the observers were not convinced. They huddled closer together, their whispers taking on a more urgent tone. I had a sinking feeling that they were going to be trouble. I just hoped that I could keep them from doing anything rash and ruining the fragile trust we'd started to build with the colonists. As we continued our exploration of the colony and the planet, I couldn't shake the feeling that the alien observers were growing more agitated by the day. They huddled together, whispering in their native tongues and casting suspicious glances at the colonists. I tried to reassure them that the humans posed no threat, but my words seemed to fall on deaf ears. The leader of the delegation, a male Zorgon named Kralthar, was particularly hostile. He made no attempt to hide his disdain for the colonists, and his interactions with them were curt and confrontational. I pulled him aside one day, hoping to get to the bottom of his behavior. "Kralthar, I understand that this situation is unusual, But we need to work together if we're going to survive on this planet, I said, keeping my voice calm and even. The Zorgon's eyes narrowed, and his scales rippled with barely contained anger. Work together with these abominations, Captain Hawkins? You are blind to the danger they represent. They are a rogue element, a threat to the very fabric of galactic society. I frowned. They're human, just like us. They've done nothing to warrant your hostility. Kralthar scoffed. Nothing? Their very existence is a violation of Council law, and their adaptations, their enhancements, who knows what they are truly capable of? They could spread like a virus, consuming every world in their path. I shook my head. You're overreacting. They've been here for generations, and they've shown no inclination to leave this planet. They just want to survive, like any other species. But Kralthar was unmoved. Mark my words, Captain. They will be the downfall of us all. With that he stormed off, leaving me with a growing sense of unease. I had a feeling that he was going to be trouble, but I had no idea just how far he was willing to go. Meanwhile, Ezra and I were making progress in uncovering the true nature of the military project that had brought the colonists' ancestors to XK-217. We pored over old records and data files, piecing together the fragments of information that had survived the passage of time. Look at this, Ezra said, pointing to a schematic on the screen. This isn't just a standard-issue weapon. It's some kind of terraforming device designed to alter planetary conditions on a massive scale. I leaned in, studying the diagram, but why would they need something like that? The project was supposed to be about creating enhanced soldiers, not playing God with entire worlds. Ezra shrugged. Maybe they were planning to use it as a last resort in case the soldiers couldn't adapt to the conditions on their own. Or maybe there was another agenda at play, something we're not seeing. I frowned, a thought occurring to me. What if the soldiers were just a means to an end? What if the real goal was to create a weapon that could make any planet habitable, no matter how hostile the environment? Ezra's eyes widened. That would be a game-changer. Any species that had that kind of technology would be unstoppable. They could claim any world they wanted, regardless of the conditions. I nodded grimly, and if the wrong people got their hands on it, they could use it to wipe out entire civilizations, reshaping planets to their own liking. We sat in silence for a moment, contemplating the implications of our discovery. If the terraforming device was still on the planet somewhere, it could be a powerful tool for good or for ill. We had to find it before someone else did. But as we delved deeper into the mystery, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Kralthar and the other observers seemed to be keeping a closer eye on us, and I caught glimpses of them whispering into their communicators when they thought no one was looking. I had a sinking suspicion that they were up to something, and that it wasn't going to be good for the colony or for us. I just hoped that we could unravel the secrets of the military project before it was too late. The alarms blared through the colony's underground facility, red lights flashing in the dim corridors. Ezra burst into the command center, his face etched with worry. "What's happening?" he demanded. One of the colonists, a woman named Nora, looked up from her console. "We've detected a fleet of ships entering the system. They're bearing Galactic Council markings." Ezra cursed under his breath. "Kralthar must have contacted them. We need to prepare for the worst." As I stepped forward, my mind racing. We can't let this turn into a bloodbath. There has to be a way to resolve this peacefully. Ezra turned to me, his eyes hard. "And how do you propose we do that? The Council sees us as a threat. They won't hesitate to wipe us out." I met his gaze, my voice steady. "We need to show them that we're not a threat, that we have something to offer." Ezra scoffed. "Like what, our charming personalities?" I shook my head. "No, our technology and our knowledge. We've learned so much about surviving on hostile worlds. That expertise could be invaluable to the Council." Ezra considered this for a moment, then nodded slowly. "You might be onto something, but how do we get them to listen?" I smiled grimly. "We put on a show." Over the next few hours, we worked feverishly to prepare. The colony's engineers rigged up a demonstration of their terraforming technology, showing how they could transform even the most barren wasteland into a habitable environment. Meanwhile, I gathered my team and the alien observers, coaching them on what to say and do. As the Council's ships entered orbit, we sent out a hail. "This is Captain James Hawkins of the GCS Hawking. We come in peace, and we have a proposal for you." There was a tense moment of silence. Then a gruff voice responded, "This is Admiral Zelthar of the Galactic Council. State your proposal." I took a deep breath. "We have discovered a human colony on this planet, one with advanced technology and unique adaptations. We believe that they could be valuable allies in exploring and settling other hostile worlds." There was another pause. Then Zalthar's voice came back, dripping with suspicion. "And why should we trust these humans? They are an unknown quantity, a potential threat." I glanced at Ezra, who nodded encouragingly. "Because we are willing to share our knowledge and our technology with the Council. We have already begun to collaborate with Captain Hawkins and his team, and we believe that this partnership could benefit all of us." Kralthar's voice cut in, harsh and accusing. "You would have us ally with these abominations? They are a mistake, a failed experiment that should be eradicated." I felt a surge of anger, but I kept my voice calm. "They are not abominations, Kraltar. They are survivors, adapters. They have faced challenges that would break most species, and they have emerged stronger for it. To dismiss them as a mistake is to ignore their potential." There was a long, tense silence. I could feel the weight of the moment, the fate of the colony hanging in the balance. Finally, Zalthar spoke again. "We will come down to the surface to see this technology for ourselves. But know this, Captain Hawkins. If we detect any hint of deception or threat, we will not hesitate to take action." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Understood, Admiral. We look forward to your visit." As the communication ended, I let out a shaky breath. Ezra clapped me on the shoulder, his face grim. "Well, that went better than I expected. But we're not out of the woods yet." I nodded. "I know, but it's a start." The next few hours were a blur of activity as we prepared for the Admiral's arrival. The colonists worked to put their best foot forward, showcasing their technology and their skills. I could see the pride in their faces, the determination to prove their worth. When Zalthar and his entourage finally landed, I was there to greet them. Kralthar was with them, his face twisted into a scowl. I ignored him, focusing on the Admiral. "Welcome to XK-217, Admiral Zalthar," I said, extending my hand. "I think you'll find that this planet and its inhabitants are full of surprises." Zalthar eyed me warily but shook my hand. "We shall see, Captain Hawkins, we shall see." As we led them into the colony, I could feel the tension in the air. The colonists watched the council members with a mix of fear and defiance, while the council members regarded them with suspicion and disdain. But as we began to show them around, I could see the surprise and grudging respect growing in their eyes. The terraforming demonstration was a particular success. The council members watched in amazement as the colonists transformed a patch of barren rock into a lush oasis in a matter of minutes. Even Kralthar looked impressed, though he tried to hide it. As the day wore on, I could see the attitudes shifting. Zalthar began to ask more questions, showing a genuine interest in the colony's capabilities. Some of the other council members even began to mingle with the colonists, swapping stories and ideas. But Kralthar remained aloof, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. I could tell that he wasn't convinced, that he still saw the colonists as a threat. I knew that I would have to keep a close eye on him, to make sure he didn't try to sabotage the fragile peace we were building. As the sun began to set, Zalthar called me over. "Captain Hawkins, I must admit that I am impressed by what I have seen here today. The colony's technology and adaptations are indeed remarkable." I nodded, feeling a surge of hope. "They are, Admiral, and I believe that they could be a valuable asset to the Council if given the chance." Zalthar stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Perhaps, but there are still many questions to be answered, many concerns to be addressed." I met his gaze, my voice firm. "I understand, Admiral. But I truly believe that this is an opportunity we can't afford to pass up. The benefits of collaboration far outweigh the risks. Zalthar was silent for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Very well, Captain Hawkins. I will recommend to the Council that we establish a formal alliance with the colony on a trial basis. But know that we will be watching closely, and any sign of trouble will be dealt with swiftly. I felt a rush of relief, but kept my face neutral. Of course, Admiral. You have my word that we will do everything in our power to make this partnership a success. As the Council members prepared to depart, I caught Kralthar's eye. He glared at me, his voice low and venomous. This isn't over, Hawkins. I still believe that these humans are a mistake, and I will do whatever it takes to protect the galaxy from their influence. I met his gaze steadily. I'm sorry you feel that way, Kralthar, but I have faith in the colonists and in the power of cooperation. I hope that someday you'll see that too. Kralthar sneered, then turned and stalked away. I watched him go, feeling a sense of unease. I knew that he would be a problem, that he would stop at nothing to undermine the alliance. But I also knew that I had allies now, both human and alien, who believed in the same vision of peace and progress. As the Council's ships lifted off, Ezra came to stand beside me. You did it, Hawkins. You convinced them to give us a chance. I smiled, feeling a sense of pride and hope. We did it, Ezra. All of us together. Ezra nodded, his face serious. But the hard work is just beginning. We have to make this alliance work to prove that we're worthy of their trust. I clapped him on the shoulder. And we will. With your technology and my team's expertise, I believe we can achieve great things. Together, we watched the ships disappear into the sky, feeling the weight of the future on our shoulders. It was a daunting task, but one that we were ready to face head-on. For the sake of the colony and for the sake of the galaxy, we would make this work. We had to. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.